Okay, so, I'm going to repeat some of what I just said. We have 2 points. In my case, maybe 6, 0, 4, 0, 4, 0, 6, 4, 0, sorry. Okay? Now, we want to do what was asked, which is first find the slope between these points, the slope of the line through the points. So, people have is they'll use formulas without understanding what they mean, and then it's difficult to apply the idea. If you don't understand what the formula means, you don't know when to apply it. Okay, so I don't like the formula at this stage. I like rise divided by run. Okay, so rise here divided by run. Well, if you go from this point to this point, your rise is -6. And your run is 4. And that's -3/2. Okay. Again, there are 3 things I asked. First, sketch the picture, and it looks like everybody did a nice job of sketching it. Then find the slope, which is easy to do if you understand what slope means, if you understand what rise means and what run means. And then write the equation. Slope-intercept form, which is what you got on the first 3 problems in the assignment on this section. If you don't know what the slope-intercept form is, you weren't paying enough attention. You didn't reinforce what you saw in the video because you got it. Okay, everybody that did those problems got them right. Now, how do you get the problems right when you don't know what the slope-intercept form is when you come to class? You're missing a step. You're missing a step where you lock in what you used. Maybe you're just imitating the video mindlessly. Okay? Maybe you have trouble remembering these things. But one way or another, you have to transfer from the assignment to the quiz. If you do, I think you're going to have a much higher success rate of being successful in this course, and more importantly, in the pre-calculus course. Okay, slope-intercept form. Y equals mx plus b. What's m stand for? Stands for the slope. And b is the y-intercept. So y is -3/2 x plus 6. Y-intercept, of course, is 6 in this case. Now that's the beginning of understanding equation of a straight line. Okay. If you didn't understand that you needed to understand this after doing the assignment, if you did the assignment, credit for doing it, credit for getting at least the first 3 problems right. That's the foundation. Okay? So when you come to class, you've got to be able to do these things. Now, later problems on this topic. let's say that f of x is a linear function. F of -2 equals 5 and f of 4 equals 8. What 2 points do we know on the graph of f of x? Can you write down one of the points? Do it, if you can write it down. We'll tell you in a minute. I'll tell you both of the points. If you can write down both points, that's great too. Okay, now when I'm walking around looking at what you're doing, don't sit there copying what's on the board. Answer the question, then copy what's on the board later if you need to, okay? Because I need to see this quickly. The video's still going. We don't want a lot of dead space in the video. I was hoping to walk around here and see your answers instead of a copy of what's on the board, okay? Nothing wrong with copying what's on the board if that helps keep you focused. But it's not necessary since the videos are going to be posted. So what I need you to do is immediately write it down. So, everybody got it written down? Coordinates of one of the points.
I did that.
Got them both. Good. Okay, well, I don't, again, we can't take time. I can't pause the video. If I could pause the stupid camera, to give you more time, but then we don't want to take a lot of time because we have other things to do, right? Okay, well, f of -2 equals 5 means what? Means that when x equals -2, then y equals 5. That's what that's telling you. That's what the function notation is telling you. Now, if you didn't get function notation down very well, I'm sure you've gotten to that in your pre-calculus class, if you're taking pre-calculus. So you should understand this about function notation, but it's not a trivial thing. Okay? Taking what you know about function notation, and being able to interpret this as a point on the graph, and interpret this as a point on the graph, takes a little bit of thinking. And if you haven't had to do that, well, now you do, okay? So, -2 5s on the graph. Can you quickly write down? Just write it down and circle it so I can see it. What's the other point on the graph?
4, 8.
You gave it away. Now everybody's going to write down 4, 8. If that's wrong, man, you just messed everybody up. Of course it was. Okay. Okay, if I move that over next to
Yeah, that's fine.
I'm not worried about tripping. I've got pretty good balance. But I am worried about destroying the bathroom. Okay.
It's not
Okay, so it looks like everybody's got the idea. And what we should have done is you should have said something wrong just to see if they write it down. Okay. So. So if you do the graph now, you've got the point, say negative 2, 5, and the point 4, 8. So you can draw this little triangle here and see that the run, well, from negative 2 to 4, you can count, you know, negative 2, and you got negative 1, 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, that's 6. And of course, you can do 4 minus negative 2, which is 6. And that's the run. And the rise goes from 5 to 8. Well, you know that's 3, but you could write it. And I don't have room to label this as the run and this is the rise, but you see that's what it is. So that the slope is 3/5. So your equation, you know what, you know you're going to have 3/5 x. Now the main thing here is, number one, to be able to interpret a statement like this, because you see that fairly early, probably around the place people stopped after the first 3 problems. I think that might occur in the 4th problem, okay? And that could be confusing. Of course, you got a video to explain it, but you know, it might or might not help. Because again, it's not a trivial concept. Okay, well, how do we get the equation of this line? Well, got y equals mx plus b, which is 3/5 x plus b. We can take either of these pieces of information now and find b. Okay, write it y equals f of x equals mx plus b. F of negative 2 equals 5. Well, f of negative 2, f of x is 3/5 x plus b. So 3/5 times negative 2 plus b has to equal 5. Notice f of negative 2 is 3/5 times negative 2 plus b. If you understand function notation at all, you see that. And that has to equal 5. Well, there's an equation, a simple linear equation in b. Well, we solve this for b. Now to solve for b, I'm going to multiply both sides by 5 because that's a denominator. If you have denominators in an equation, you've got to multiply by each of those denominators, or at least by a common denominator. You don't have to, but you avoid having to deal with fractions. And everybody wants to avoid dealing with fractions if they possibly can. Sometimes you can't, but this time you can, so we do. So we do 5 multiplied by 3/5 times negative 2 plus b equals 5 times 5. something's wrong. I gotta correct what I just did over here. I had the slope as 3/5, because my eye caught that 5 there, and my brain wasn't engaged. So, you know, sometimes you do your homework and you don't have your brain totally engaged. I'll give you a good example of what that's like. Okay, slope is 3/6. That's 1/2. So now, this 3/5 needs to be 1/2. And really, we can do 1/2 of -2, right? But I'm going to continue doing what I did. You normally do 1/2 of -2. The solution comes out quickly. But I'm going to be a little bit mindless here and follow the instruction that you want to multiply by a common denominator just to see how this works. Okay, the only denominator is 2. I multiply everything by 2. I get 2 times 1/2 times -2 plus 2b equals 10. 2 times 1/2 is 1, so we just get -2 plus 2b equals 10. We add 2 to both sides, we get 2b equals 12, so b equals 6. Now, if we'd have multiplied 1/2 by -2, we would have had -1 here, and then we would have immediately gotten b equals 6. But I want to show you what to do if you have a fraction whose denominator doesn't work out with that -2. All right? So anyhow, given this information, we find 2 points on the graph. We find the rise and the run. And we calculate the slope. The equation has to be y equals mx plus b. Now y is a function. Yeah, we've got the f of x. Y equals f of x equals mx plus b. It's the slope times x plus b. Then we can take either of these pieces of information, either point on the graph, plug its coordinates in for x and y, or think of, we got f of -2 equals 5, there's your x, there's your y. So we plug -2 in for x, get this, plug 5 in for y, there's an equation, we solve the equation for b just using simple methods for linear equations, okay? Notice that if we'd have used f of 4 equals 8, f of 4 is 1/2 of 4 plus b, so 1/2 of 4 plus b equals 8. I won't multiply both sides by 2 this time because 1/2 of 4 we can calculate to get a non-fractional number. So we get 2 plus b equals 8. Then we subtract 2 from both sides and we get b equals 6. This agrees with this. We have agreement, so that must have been right. That makes sense? Everything good? Well, there are more questions. I strongly recommend that you get in and work them. Okay? Take a quick look here, see if there's anything else I want to alert you to. Talk about this because, again, this form of the information can be a little bit confusing. Hopefully we've fixed that.